So you have pain around your shoulder when you move it. In this video, we are going through some simple tests that you can do at home to try and figure out what may be going on. And then we will share links to videos that can help with that particular condition. Before we get into the test, it's also really important to know there are a lot of things that can refer pain into the shoulder, which is actually nothing to do with the shoulder itself. Sometimes it can be the neck, but also a fair few medical things can cause pain around the shoulder. Things as randomly as ectopic pregnancies or your pancreas. So the tests we are going through in this video are referring to the musculoskeletal condition. So issues that are affecting the muscles and joints of the shoulder. This will mean that there will be a cause and effect of pain, and they will be activity dependent. Move your arm in a certain way or lift something and it brings on pain. If you have no pain on moving the shoulder or using the muscles, then it may not be down to the things we're covering, and definitely worth getting checked out by a medical professional. Let's get into the tests though for the common musculoskeletal conditions of the shoulder. Starting us off, one of the most common is rotator cuff related pain. The rotator cuff comprises of 4 muscles that play a huge role in the movement of the shoulder. This is typically characterized by pain at the side of the shoulder, which can at times be felt all the way to the elbow. Sometimes below the elbow, but rarely. There will classically be a painful arc, which is pain at around 90 degrees of abduction, a bit above and a bit below. Then, when getting above this, it can feel easier, but not in all cases. Generally though, it is painful moving the hand above the head. This will normally be easier if someone moves your arm for you, or you get help using a table or a wall where there's less reliance on the rotator cuff muscles to initiate the movement. And a good sign it is rotator cuff related, if that's helping. There are a ton of special tests for this, like empty cans, full cans, Nears, Hawking Kennedy. But what you'll generally find is pain when a movement is resisted, where you're activating more of the rotator cuff muscles. And this is typically worse in resisted flexion, abduction, and external rotation. And pain on these is a clear clue that it is rotator cuff related. If you've had trauma though, and you're struggling to even lift your arm up, or when it is lifted up, you can't hold it there, that would be classed as a lag sign and may indicate a big tear or even retraction of the rotator cuff. And this needs to be checked out as it may require surgery. Moving on to tests for AC joint pain. As this is joint related, you won't have as much pain with resisted movement of the shoulder as you will with the rotator cuff. And pain is typically located higher on the shoulder, right around that AC joint. This is normally painful, not at the arm, but actually worse when the arm gets close to the ear, which is normally where rotator cuff pain might be a bit better. This is typical, but not going to be the case for everyone. It is normally also painful with horizontal adduction, closing the joint down, and a scarf test will involve putting the hand on the opposite shoulder and adding more pressure with the other arm further into that horizontal adduction. The biggest sign that it is your AC joint is pain when you're pressing right on the area. It will be very sore. Again, if this has been injured, you need to get this checked out, especially if it's looking different or any deformity, as this may require surgery. Let's look at frozen shoulder now. This is characterized by restriction globally at the shoulder in all directions and is very painful. This again can bring pain from the shoulder to the elbow. This normally occurs where people forget about it, reach out to get something, and there's a really intense pain for a number of seconds, which gradually settles when bringing the arm back to the side. The movement is actually restricted, so whether you try to move it or someone else tries to move it, the range and pain is the same, rather than being less with the passive movement like with the rotator cuff. And you'll not have as much pain with resisted movements while the joint is still. This is termed a lot of the time adhesive capsulitis, as it's the idea that the capsule surrounding the joint becomes almost sticky or adhesive. However, this is coming into question a bit more, whether this is always the case in every situation. But there is normally what we call a capsular pattern to movement restriction, with external rotation being most affected and normally only getting about half the range of the other side. But sometimes it can be really limited. Then abduction is reduced next, and finally internal rotation or getting the hand behind the back. Sometimes frozen shoulder can just develop for no reason, most typically in the 40 to 60 age range, and a lot more common in people with diabetes and thyroid issues. If you do have restriction, you want to get this checked out and x-rayed ideally to ensure no other joint issues. This is especially true with any trauma to rule out a fracture. Next, less common issue is instability of the shoulder. This comes in a wide range of severities. First off, any injury, dislocation, subluxation or anything like that needs to get checked. Less severe forms of instability can come with just a feeling that it's unstable or that it feels like it might come out of the socket. It can also be down to hypermobility and other conditions. Sometimes it can be a byproduct of an issue with the rotator cuff. Typically, clicking can be felt in the shoulder, and the main test for this is an apprehension test. So normally with the arm abducted and into external rotation, a force is applied and there's that feeling of apprehension that it may come out and isn't stable that's a positive rather than pain. This is normally done by a therapist, but you can do it yourself doing a doorway stretch, but it isn't quite the same because you're the one that's doing it and the apprehension isn't quite the same. If your symptoms aren't really fitting into any of these, then get it checked out, as it may be the symptoms are referring from the neck, especially if you're getting pain down towards the hand and any pins and needles or numbness in your arm, or it may be referred pain from a different issue in the body, like we mentioned before. If there is a clear sign one of these is affecting you, then we have some videos about what to do to help. If it's rotator cuff related, check out this video. If it's AC related, check this video. If it's frozen shoulder, then look at this one. And if it's instability, then check out this one. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and any topics you want covered in future videos, then please just let us know.